Hello, we will be using our watercolors this week. So get your brushes out, your watercolor set, water, and some paper towels. Hello boys and girls. Today we are going to be painting a really wonderful painting of bears in the woods and some pine trees. Something very beautiful and simple. We're going to be using our watercolor set, a brush, and we're not drawing before we paint today. So our first step is maybe creating a little hill that our bear can stand on. And I think I'm just going to use a really light blue because I want this to look like snow. And I'm just going to lightly build a little hill. You can make your hill bigger or smaller or lower. Just give yourself a little hill. And now, of course, I wet my colors before I use them. So I'm going to add a little water. I'm sorry, I skipped that part. You have to add a little water into your watercolor set in order for the watercolors to work properly. They have to be wet. Otherwise, it's just like a stiff block of color. Doesn't really work. And just adding water into all my colors. And now I'll be ready to paint. Now, remember, we have to be very careful with the bristles on our brush. These are tiny little hairs that hold water. And if they're bent up and broken, if you mash it, you won't get very nice painted lines. All right, so now that we have our little hill, I think we need to add some pine trees. So let's go into the brown and let's add a big tree. And I'm going to make the bottom a little bit bigger. So I'm going back into brown and I'm going up, up, up. And here's my first tree. That's the bark and the wood. Wash my brush, go over here, and I think I'm going to add one on this side from the bottom up. Another beautiful pine tree. Pine trees really go straight up. I don't know if you've ever seen the pine trees of Colorado, but they are huge and they go straight into the air. I'm going to make one more here. Big pine tree. Leave some space for your bear family. Right now that I have my pine trees, I'm going to wash my brush out, dry it out a little bit. You might, if you have a really drippy little tree spot here, you might want to take, a piece of paper towel or a napkin and dry it up a little bit. So you don't want it to be too drippy. Oh, that's kind of nice. I'm going to try to dry this section too. Laying my paper towel down and soaking it up. There we go. Well, you could have 3 or 4 trees. You decide, but remember, save some space for your bear, your big bear. All right. Now, I'd like to put all those beautiful pine boughs or pine needles on my tree. I hope I have the green wet. Now I'm going to dip in. And to get these pine trees to look like pine trees, you're going to start from the top and go down. Start from the top and go down. You can even go right over the brown. I'm going to re-dip. Start from the top and move down. Doesn't that kind of look like pine tree? It was only half of a pine tree, but you get the idea. Pine tree. I'm going to do one side of the pine tree. I think I'll wash my brush again and dry it out a little bit. Dip back into green, and now I'm going to move in this direction because the pine boughs almost come down like an arrow down. I'm going to get a little more green, and you can make some beautiful trees this way. Real simple pines, not complicated. There's one tree. I'm pretty happy with that one. I'm going to do the second one. This one's going to come down from the top, down from the top. And I'm going to kind of touch the brown too, because the pine goes over the branches. Nice. Oh, these are tall trees. I was in Colorado camping, and those trees in the forest go up for stories and stories and stories. They're bigger than any big house over here. I'm going to wash my brush again. I think I'm going to finish this tree. This time I have a couple different greens in my set. I'll try a different green. From the top down. You can even go off the page a little bit. From the top down. From the top down. From the top down. Ooh, I like these pine boughs, they're called, and branches. It's a different word for branch. I'm going to go back in, wash my brush. I'm going to use a little bit of a different green because this set has two greens. Down. Ooh, it's kind of mixing in there. Nice. I kind of prefer the darker green for the pine tree because they're pretty dark. There we go. Now I've got 3 trees. If it's very super soaky like here, you might want to soak it up. Oh, that made it too light. That's the tricky part of soaking things. Sometimes it makes them too light. So I'm going to go back into here and fix this. There we go. So now I have some pine trees. Real simple way to make a pine, top down. I'm going to wash my brush. Now I think I'm going to add my bear. So boys and girls, I'm going to make a brown bear. I'm going to dip into brown. And first I'm going to start with his big body. I might have him standing on his feet trying to grab something from the tree. So here's an oval for his body. I'm going to fill it in. Start with the body. Oh, I can kind of see the snowbank behind him. I might make him a little darker so I don't see that line. There's his body. He's kind of a chubby guy. Cute. And here we go. A little bit more brown. And I've got a body. There we go. I'm going to make his head up here, a little bit over. Connect to the body like a little oval shape. Add some more brown. So now he has a head and a body. All right, boys and girls, we've got to give the bear his muzzle. It kind of comes out, back in. Kind of like a dog has a muzzle. You can see it pops out of the face. There's his big muzzle. And I think I'm going to give this guy his ears. They're not big. One on this side and one a little bit in the front. There we go. I'm going to wash my brush. I want to make his nose, the tip of his nose, black. So I'm going to try and dry his face up a little bit so that I can paint into it. There we go. Soak up a little bit. Soak up a little bit. Here we go. I'm going to make a little black nose. Touch the black. This is a hard part because I made it so small. Here's his nose. There you go. Maybe I should make his eye too. I can only see one eye because he's facing that way. Oh boy, he needs legs and a tail. They have this tiny little tail. I'm dipping back into brown. Here's my little tail. Here's the little legs. He's standing up. I wanted him to sort of stand up. Oh, and here's his little foot. Maybe he's walking over here. Maybe he sees something in the tree. There's a little foot. All right, boys and girls, the trick is really to kind of paint a little slower than you might be used to, just to build the parts of the body of the bear. So of course we have the two legs, but you don't have to have him standing up like that. You can have him standing on all fours, but I just want him to look in this tree. And I'm going to add another arm. I'm going nice and slow and steady. And I'm adding his paw. Every once in a while I like to add a little more brown into his fur just by dabbing a little bit of brown. Kind of looks like fur then, a little bit more. And I'm just trying to add the second arm. Maybe your bear is standing on his four legs instead of two. Kind of have mine balancing here. I'm carefully adding his paw on his arm. There we go. So I've got some trees and a bear. I think I'd like to add a baby. You can add several. Remember, you start with an oval. Carefully fill it in. Add a head. Just another little oval. And just go nice and slow and steady. There's no race. Just enjoy yourself. I'm adding that little muzzle. And because I'm painting so small, I have to be a little more careful. Oh, there's ears. And I can't wait to see how you're making your painting of the bears in the woods. And we're going to add 4 legs for the bear. The mom and the cub, the baby. I'm trying to give him big feet to stand on. And there we go. I've got 2 bears in the woods. I have to dab that up a little bit because I want to add a nose. If the paint isn't dry, it kind of moves the paint around a lot. I mean, you might like that look, but sometimes it's bothersome when it moves around too much. Watercolors really moves quickly with water. So I add another hill. Maybe you could add a few hills, some snow, some more animals. There's foxes, which are reddish orange and brown. Rabbits, which could be brown or black and white. I'm going to do one in black, so I need an oval for the body and kind of longer ears. It's sort of hard to see because it's so tiny. 4 legs. There's my little bunny rabbit. Always washing my brush. I think I'm going to dab that. So, boys and girls, you could have 2 big bears in your painting. You don't have to be just one big bear. It's your choice. I'm trying to make this tree a little darker, a little more like a bark of a tree. And think about how you want to end your painting. The sun, the clouds, snow, just little dots. Remember, be careful with your brush. Brushes can get really bent out of shape and have a bad hair day, and I don't know if you'll like the look after that. It's hard to control. All right, I'm just going to add a little more fur inside this one bear. I'm kind of running out of time, so I can't add too many more animals, but I know you will have more time. One last little thing is I think I'd like to try to add a fox. Now the fox has an oval body, but it's a little longer. Nice longer tail. 4 legs, of course. Unless you're making a bird, give your animals 4 legs. And maybe he's trying to get something out of the tree here. I'm going to add a little pine cones.